Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about South of Midnight. Now, this game came out a little bit earlier in the year. I believe it came to Game Pass, which is where I played it. And it was a game that had a very, when I remember it got shown off, like a very interesting art style. It's got stop motion. And it's made by Compulsion Games, who haven't done a lot of games, but before this were known for like We Happy Few, which, you know, some people liked it, some people didn't. But this was a game that I was watching a YouTuber, and they were going on about how, like, you know, it wasn't a very long game, and how good the music was, and how good the story was, and I thought, you know what, like, there's a lot of stuff on Game Pass that I want to play. And considering this was, like, it took me 10 hours, basically, to play it, I was like, you know what, that's a shorter game, I'm going to jump into that and play that. And I'm glad I did, because I think this is a game that's going to get very much overlooked. I don't think it's like the best game of the year or anything, but I think it's a game that does something very unique. It tries to tell quite a heartwarming story, and I think there's just a lot to like about it. So I just want to go over it today. I want to give you guys some context and like just sort of talk about it, because I think it's worth playing. It is on the shorter side, so if you are looking for a game that is on the shorter side, you can play it on an easy, like a very easy difficulty to make combat super, you know, a breeze if you want to focus on the story, which is what the game's best part is, right? But what is the game about? So it's set in sort of Southern America. You play as a young girl called Hazel. I say young, she's probably like, I want to say like 17, 18. I think that's the kind of age. Anyway, they're in this area. A flood happens. The flood takes her house away with her mum in it, and then the whole game is about her chasing to find her mum. And it goes through a bunch of folklore based on a load of stories, which I had no idea about, but really interesting takes on, like I said, just like folklore and stuff. And throughout the game you meet various characters that have some horrendous, because the game's quite somber. Like it's got a heartwarming message to it, but there's a lot of stuff in this game that happens and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is quite hard to see, you know, because each area you go to, you have to kind of deal with somebody's trauma essentially, and some of them are very, very difficult to deal with, and like they're handled pretty well, I would say. There's nothing here that's distasteful, but this is this journey about Hazel becoming a weaver, which is basically someone who can like sort out strands that have become tangled up, help out spirits, things like that. They're not called spirits, they're called like, I can't remember, is it haunts or something? I can't remember the exact term. But basically, things have happened in these particular areas to particular characters, and Hazel helps them out as she's on her journey to save her mum. And it's very, it does a very good job of getting the message across. There's a ton of like notes and things left. You really get a vibe of what's going on in the world. And as Hazel's progressing and understanding what the power she's got, she's also like respecting a lot of what has happened, what's come before. She's very like empathetic, and she's actually got a likable character. Like she's got a little bit of badass sassery about her as well, but like a lot of the time when you're finding these things that happened and things that are going on with her, like she's actually very respectful. And I think I really enjoyed the characterization of her. The main sort of, I guess, sidekick is this giant catfish throughout the game, and he's great. He's just fantastic. He's such a good like storyteller, and they work very well together. But there's loads of different characters, and it's just very well put together story. It's not perfect by any means, but I really like the characterization of Hazel, her mum, the other characters in the game that you meet, like for what they're all going through, and like how you basically end up dealing with a lot of what's going on in the world around you. And the story being the main focal point is accompanied by very interesting areas that you go to, and also the music. And I'll come to the music in a minute because it's a big part of the game. But like you go to like forests and swamps, and there's like a pig farm that you go to, and like there's just these really interesting areas, and each one has its own story to tell. And it's like sometimes they have a boss fight, sometimes they don't. They have like sequences. But I like the fact that the story was kind of like, it never felt like it was wasting your time. It was always trying to get a point across each area you went to in that sort of 10 hours that it took me to do it. And I really was just like, okay, yeah, I want to find out what happens to these characters. Why are they the way they are? How do we help them? How does that affect Hazel, like as a character, as like her own problem is going on, right? So that's like one of the best things about it. You've also got the music, and the music in this game, it's not going to be like to everyone's taste, but I respect the hell out of it because it is all like, to start with, the way it works is a bit of music plays, and it expands over time. So you have combat. When you untangle like what they call like stigma in an area, that then opens up the music, so it builds upon what you already had. So you might just have some low vocals, now suddenly you've got some instruments coming in, and then you do another one, and suddenly you've got the main melody coming in. And once you do the last one, you get the full-blown track leading to the boss fight or the final outcome, whatever that area might be. And it's so well put together. There's like one very early on, because there's a lot of singing in this, which was, I'm not normally the biggest fan of songs, but some of it was just like, oh wow, this is actually really powerful stuff. And I think it's just, it does the game such a good justice. There's a piece of music you get later on in the game where you're like on like this mountainous area, and I think it's like singing about the main character and how they progress. It's quite hopeful sounding, and it's just like, they really nailed it. There's like an area you go to that's like crazy, like jazz and stuff, and it's like something very special about the music. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but it cannot be denied that it is very, very well put together, and it really enhances the entire experience. Like I'm not like, I don't think any of this stuff is going to be in like my personal kind of, you know, top 100 or whatever, but I think the music is absolutely sublime in its own way, and I think it fits the story incredibly well. Like, it's definitely worth listening to. That's what I'll say that. So you have that part of it. You also have the way the game looks, which is lovely, like animation style. A lot of the characters are stop motion. Apparently you can turn it off. I don't know why you would. I like stop motion, so I like the fact that it has a unique art style. There are some times when this game looks incredibly vibrant. There are times when this game looks very dark, and everything in between. They've done a really nice job of making this game look very, like, it looks like a cohesive world, but it's just got this art style that just slaps. Like, it looks great, honestly. Like, I like a nice colourful art style. So all of that combined alone is what makes this game so good, right? And then the game is split into two parts, basically. You're either platforming or you're doing combat. And for me, as somebody who loves platformers, I really enjoyed the platforming in this. You've got like double jumps, you've got a glide, you've got some like skills to help you get around. Like, very, very much liked it. And then you've got the combat. Now the combat, I think, is where the game falls down just a little bit. It's not like combat is like constant. It's just that you only get a set amount of skills. You do get some points you can spend to upgrade your skills in combat to like make you better. And there is a decent variety of enemies as the game goes on. It's the part of the game that is the least interesting to me, because it's like the story is such a good driving factor, and running around the environments is so interesting, and like, you know, environmental storytelling and stuff like that. That's the stuff that I was like, this is really cool. But the combat's like, it's not bad. I don't want to say it's like bad, but it is just, I don't know. I think if you remove 10% of the combat, I think the game would be even better. I think there's just one too many combat encounters. Not that there's like loads and it's completely bogged down or anything like that. It's just, I think there is one too many in each area. Like, if there was 4 encounters, I'd make it 3, you know, stuff like that. So it's just a little bit smoother transition. I get why they've done it the way they've done it, because of the way that the story tells these different fragments that happen in the past. But it is something that's like, it's enjoyable. It's like kind of Arkham style combat, but like with a dodge. Like the game plays well, so it feels good to play, but it's just, it unfortunately just is the weakest part. There's nothing interesting about the combat system that's like, oh my god, I need to do more of this. Not when the story is as good as it is, not when the way the game looks, or like the way what you're doing in that game, like the platforming, things like that. That's where the game really shines, in all of that storytelling, the character, all that sort of stuff. Like, it's fun to break up some of it by doing combat, but I think it almost needed a couple extra mechanics just to make it a bit more interesting, like the main character having some extra skills or things like that. I mean, eventually you are going to run out of buttons, so I do get it. Because you do have the ability to like pull and push things with weave and like create things. Like, there are things in the environment, like environmental puzzles during the platforming sections, that are really cool. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, the combat's good, but it is the least interesting part. So what you have here, with all this said and done, is a very, very solid experience. A game that, you know, I think maybe for some people, if you want to go like exploring, I think maybe like a 15-hour game at most. I think a lot of people would do it in 10 to 12 hours. playing primarily through the game with a little bit of exploration, which I really appreciate. This game isn't trying to waste your time, it's trying to tell a cohesive story. I think it does that really well, and I'm really glad that I've played it, and I hope that other people go out there and do play it. Whatever gameplay's on screen right now that you're watching is probably, I can't remember what I recorded, but like, the game's just, it just knows what it wants to be, and in a world where we get a lot of games that are very like long and bloated, having something that's very precise and having a particular story to tell is awesome. And like I said, come the end of the year, when, you know, everyone's talking about game of the year, I don't think this game is going to come up in conversation, which is a shame, because I think it nails some things really well. The guys at Compulsion should be proud of the game that they made. It's a very good game, you know, and they've really created a very special experience. And I think for people that know, like, live in that part of the world and know about the folklore and stuff, I think they're really going to appreciate it. So for me, it's what, like, I'm glad I played it. On top of like a ton of games that I want to play this year, I'm really glad that I put the time in and effort into play this, because it was worth it. And I'd love to see it come to Switch 2. I want to see Microsoft open that up and bring that over to there so that more people can play. I think this is a really good fit for Switch 2. Like, for a handheld game, this would be perfect. Or even on TV if that's what more people play. But if you haven't played it, go check it out. Hopefully this video is something that like maybe will persuade at least one person to play it. You know, even if you have played it, like, tell me, like, let's talk about it in the comments, man, because this game is so much fun. But yeah, that is going to do it for me today then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, outside of my just regular Switch 2 stuff at the moment, where I look at other games like I have been, obviously hit subscribe. There will be more stuff coming. I'm always looking at doing other games and adding to videos to this channel for that reason. But until then, I will see you in the next video.